Introduce our speaker.
Well, what a tremendous Pachyderm convention. Come on! It's great to be a Republican in America, and I know we have folks from all over the great United States, from Texas to Tennessee to Montana, Missouri. You all came out for this convention. Welcome to the greatest mid-sized city in America, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I have been privileged since 2010 when I was elected and started serving in 2011 to represent the great people of the 3rd District of Tennessee. We start here in Hamilton County and it goes all the way up to the Kentucky border in Scott County. 11 wonderful East Tennessee counties with solid, rock-solid fiscal and conservative roots and values that are really making a difference in America. And today is a really special day for me because, as you all know, we have the single largest Republican majority in the House of Representatives since 1928. Because Republican ideals are working and the American people are embracing them. And what we're going to do, we're going to go out, ladies and gentlemen. We got the House, we got the Senate, and in 2016, we will get the White House. One of the reasons we're going to get the White House is because we've got great ideas that people are listening to. And the gentleman I'm going to talk about now, he is a modest man. But he's a great man and he's a great friend. As a gentleman I met in freshman orientation, we came into the House together. And we came into the House at a time when Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, and Harry Reid had a liberal death grip on this country. And what did the American people do? They gave us a strong majority in the House, and we started on our way back to greatness in America. Trey Gowdy is part of that. Ladies and gentlemen, I serve with many wonderful men and women in the House, and our Republican conference is great. It really is. But there are a few standouts. Trey Gowdy is a standout. This man is modest, this man is honest, this man is principled, and whether you're Hillary Clinton or any other lefty out there, you better beware, because Trey Gowdy is out there, and he's coming to get you. Having said that, seriously, he's a fair man. He's a very fair man. He's a former prosecutor. He represents the great state of South Carolina in the House. And most important to me, he's my dear friend. Let's give him a great Pachyderm welcome. Trey Gowdy!
I appreciate your warmth and your hospitality. I don't get that in South Carolina. So thank you for that. I never travel, and in a minute I'm going to tell you why I'm here. But I do want to let you know I rarely travel for a number of reasons. I am married to one of the most beautiful women in the world. You would not know that to look at me, but I am married to one of the most beautiful women in the world. We live right beside a golf course. We have every ESPN sports channel that they offer, including the SEC network. And my probation officer is a jerk, so I don't have a chance to travel very often. But I'm here on a Saturday for 2 reasons. Firstly, because I like Chuck Fleischman, and I'm going to tell you why I like Chuck. I met Chuck in orientation. Now, when you find a lawyer that you like, you better hang on to him, or you better put him in the Smithsonian, one or the other. And I decided to hang on to him. I mean, you think about folks in public service, or the caricature of folks in public service, the caricature is that we have inflated views of ourselves, and then you find a guy like Chuck Fleischman, who, if anything, is understated. He's not overstated, he's understated. We've got plenty of folks in elective office who love to take more credit than they deserve. Occasionally you find somebody like Chuck Fleischman who takes actually less credit than he deserves. We're on different committees. I'm on oversight with Jason Chaffetz, and I'm on judiciary with Louis Gohmert, and I'm on committees with big personalities who essentially host their own Fox News show. Now, let me say this about the folks on appropriations, because that's the committee that Chuck serves on. And you're not going to be on Fox News, and you're not going to be on talk radio, and you're not going to have a chance to rant and rave and wave your hands. But if you want to provide oversight, if you want to get the attention of the executive branch, step on the air hose called appropriations. Since we have been trying to get documents from the Department of State in the investigation into what happened in Benghazi, we have tried public shame. It didn't work. We've tried threats and subpoenas and letters. That hasn't worked. What has worked was when we partnered with our friends on appropriations and let the State Department and other agencies know your money will be cut if you do not provide us with documents. So I'm here to say thank you for Chuck, and I'm also here to say thank you to, I know there's some folks from Texas here. I spent 4 years in Texas, and as soon as the statute of limitations runs out, I plan on going back. I know there are folks from Tennessee here. Somebody at the airport asked me if I knew the words to Rocky Top. And I thought, I've been a South Carolina Gamecock fan all my life. What do you think? You sing it every time you score a touchdown. There were games, that's all I heard during the entire game. So yes, I know the words. I know there are people from Missouri and Montana, Wyoming. There are probably people from South Carolina. We probably thought Tim Scott was speaking today instead of me, but I'm glad you were here. Anyway, I want to say thank you for your principled conservatism. Your delegation is primarily Republican. Both your senators are Republican. In South Carolina, both of our senators are Republican. 6 of our 7 members of the House are Republican. Every single constitutional officer in South Carolina is a Republican. The governor is a Republican. The House is controlled by a Republican. The Senate is controlled by a Republican. Let me tell you, it doesn't take a whole lot of courage to be a Republican in South Carolina. But I also got to tell you this. We have won 1 out of the last 6 popular votes for president. 1 out of 6. Thank the Lord for the Electoral College, so we won 2 elections. But 1 out of the last 6 times, the majority of our fellow citizens have gone into the ballot room or closed that curtain and pushed the button that we thought they should push. Now I was a very mediocre prosecutor, but I did it for a long time. And I can tell you that if I had lost 5 out of 6 jury trials, I would reevaluate the way I was doing things. Maybe I should spend more time with law enforcement. Maybe I should pick better witnesses. Maybe I should work on my opening statement. Maybe I should get somebody else to try the case because I've lost 5 out of the last 6. But Chuck said we're going to win in 2016. I hope he's right, because it's really important that we capture the executive branch. We got the House, and when we had the House, we could, for the most part, stop really bad things from happening. And then the people rewarded us with the Senate. But if you want to pick the next Attorney General, you need the executive branch. If you want a foreign policy that makes sense, you need the executive branch. If you want a little upgrade in the Secretary of State position, you need the executive branch. Every time I see Ruth Bader Ginsburg in public, I'm praying that she's praying. Her head's down. You want to pick the next Supreme Court justice? Justice Scalia, I believe, is in his 80s. I'm supposed to be dinner with him next week, Congressman. I had dinner with him about a year ago. He's in his 80s. There are going to be vacancies on the Supreme Court. You want to pick him? you better win the executive branch. You want to pick judges in Tennessee? You want to pick judges on your Court of Appeals, Federal Court of Appeals? You better win the White House. So we won 1 out of the last 6. And we all understand that the real gears of government, the power, people ask me at Publix almost every Saturday, which is the real reason I said yes, because I just can't, to you, Chuck, I just can't go grocery shopping again. So it's easier for me to come to Chattanooga than go to Publix. But people ask me, when are you going to put Lois Lerner in jail? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? And they answer almost every one of their questions is that's an executive branch act. I can't prosecute anybody. I can't put anybody in jail. I can send a subpoena and they'll turn it into a paper airplane because I don't have a police force that I can send to enforce it. So if you want to fundamentally change the direction of our country, and according to the polls, 70% of you do, then you need to control the executive branch. So how do we win again? That's what I want to talk to you about. How do we win again? Not in Tennessee. How about Colorado? How about Iowa? How about Florida? How about Virginia? How about North Carolina? How do we win again? Because we start at such a deficit in the Electoral College. We're not going to get California in my lifetime. New York. Those 2 big states are already in the other column before the polls close. For us to win the White House, it is a very narrow path through what we call the Electoral College. So how do we do it? Like any good Baptist, I think there are 3 things that we've got to do. Number 1, in addition to telling people what you believe, you need to tell them why you believe it. Do you believe in respect for the rule of law? Why?
As long as it's good law.
I rode over with some law enforcement officers. I just had the privilege of talking to one current judge and one former judge. Do you believe in respect for the rule of law? Can you explain to somebody why you do? Is it because you like the prison construction industry? Is it because you enjoy putting people in jail? Or is it because the law is the only thing in your culture that makes the richest person drive the same speed limit as the poorest person? The law is the only thing that makes the richest person in Tennessee pay his or her taxes on the same day as the poorest person in Tennessee. The law is personified by a woman wearing a blindfold, and that is intentional. Because the law is the most equalizing, unifying force that we have in our culture. That is why we believe in respect for the rule of law. Do you think education decisions should be made at the state and local level, or do you think they should be made in Washington? Can you tell people why? Never surrender the fact that we believe in education every bit as much as anybody else does. If it weren't for education, I wouldn't be standing in front of you. You wouldn't be sitting where you're sitting. So why do we surrender that issue? We just happen to believe that the decisions ought to be made closest to the student. Do you believe in peace through strength? Do you believe in a foreign policy where we're respected again? Why do you believe that? Do you believe that a country as prosperous as us ought to have a safety net for the truly indigent? I do. Do you believe it's too much to ask that we not have the waste, fraud, and abuse that we currently have in our safety net programs? Explain to people why you believe that. Do you believe in personal responsibility? Why? Do you believe in accountability to others? Why? I love to go on college campuses because they tell Republicans not to go. And I'm going to get a question about marijuana, and I'm going to get a question about same-sex marriage. Can you tell people why you believe what you believe? Because I can tell you the days I live with an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old. My 22-year-old just finished college. He's a philosophy major. So if he doesn't get a job at Chick-fil-A, I think he's going to wind up going to law school. I don't know what else he's doing. And I live with an 18-year-old, female. I haven't seen her eyes in 3 years. See the top of her head. She's sitting there playing with whatever phone she has not yet broken. They, despite my wife and my best effort, do not agree with us at this stage in life on every single issue. Can you tell them why you believe what you believe? I have views on marriage, and I can explain them to you. I can do it, frankly, without even using the Bible as my reference. I can do it just making a legal argument. Can you? It is not enough for us to simply tell people, because it's always been that way, because my grandparents told me. You got to tell them why you believe what you believe. And until we match up the what with the why, we will continue to struggle with certain constituencies. So that's the message. How about the manner in which we communicate? Do you think we could stand to improve that at all?
Yes.
Do you think when people hear us talk, that they think, you know what? That person gets it. That person understands where I'm coming from. That person can sympathize or empathize with where I have been in life. I'm not talking about changing what you believe. I'm talking about changing the manner in which you communicate what you believe. There's a verse in Ecclesiastes that says there's a time and a place for everything, a time and a season for everything. There's a season to validate or ratify. You go find a group that agrees with everything you say, then stand in front of that group, and you stay in office for a long time doing that. There's a time and a place to educate folks who may not know precisely everything you may know about a certain issue. There's a time to rebuke. But there's a time to persuade. And when you have lost 5 out of the last 6 of anything, I would encourage you that it is the season of persuasion. So how do you persuade? Facts, evidence, authenticity, sincerity. That's what works. I spent 16 years standing in front of 12 people who were not smart enough to get out of jury service. That's how I made a living. And I got to be honest with you, it never dawned on me to insult the jury a single solitary time I tried a case. Not once. What doesn't work? Insults don't work. Any of you been married for more than a week? Does it work? You ever tried it in your own personal lives? You ever tried insulting your spouse into changing his or her mind? I can tell you my household, I'm terrified to try. My wife watched that movie about Farrah Fawcett in a bed. Ever since, she actually bought the DVD, and ever since that happened, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. What else doesn't work? Hypocrisy doesn't work. Telling people to live by a set of rules while you live by a different set of rules. Telling people that God called you to run for office, and then you live like the devil when you're wherever you are. People don't like hypocrisy. Yes, we're all hypocrites. Yes. But there are levels of hypocrisy. And for me to tell you to live your life a certain way while I am intentionally living it another way does not persuade people. So insults don't work. Hypocrisy doesn't work. You know what does, because you've done it in your everyday lives with your co-workers and your family members and the folks you go to church with. A relationship, facts, evidence, sincerity, authenticity. I'll tell you what else helps a little bit. If you can throw in just a dash of hope. Just a dash. Last fall, my wife made me go to a wedding with her. That might not be the right way to phrase it. My wife and I went, you know what, if you get married in the fall in the South, just don't expect me to come. But she made me go, so I'm watching the SEC game of the week on my phone in church. But you can still hear, because it's the same verse at every wedding. These 3 things remain: faith, hope, and love. Greatest of these is love. We all know that, right? Love wins. You ever stop and think hope must be pretty important to even make the final 3? Hope is really, really important. People want to believe. that tomorrow can be better than today. People want to believe that their children might have a better shot at it than they had. They want to believe that maybe I didn't finish college, but my kid can. Maybe I didn't graduate high school, but my kid can. Maybe I have a job on this ship, but my kid can have a 9-to-5 job. They want to believe that. And there's some voices in our party that I think do a really good job of it. And who you vote for president is none of my business. I could not care. It is, I do care, but it's none of my business. So I am not saying this about this person because I want to persuade you. I do not. I just happen to think when I hear him speak, he does a really good job of communicating hope. And that is the senator from Florida, Marco Rubio. But of course he's going to communicate hope, because his story is a story of hope. How do you go from having a mom that cleans up hotel rooms for other people to being in the United States Senate? Other than hope. And the one that I'm most biased towards is a former colleague of mine and Chuck's who got demoted and sent to the U.S. Senate. And that is my friend Tim Scott. Tim Scott is the only African-American Republican in the United States Senate. And Tim grew up in a single-parent household. He had his mama, and then he had his grandfather. And his grandfather would come down to the breakfast table and hold up the newspaper like all those old men used to do back in the time, where the whole world could see he's reading the newspaper. Just bigger than life, both sides open, had to lower to look in the eyes. My dad did the same thing, but that's what Tim's dad did. Every single morning at breakfast, Tim would go down there to eat his cereal. There's Grandpapa B with a newspaper up like that. Wanted Tim to understand the value of education. Wanted Tim to understand you gotta know what you're talking about. You gotta be aware of current events. And it worked. He's in the United States Senate. The interesting part is that his grandfather couldn't read. He still, to this day, cannot read. But he had enough hope for his grandson to fake it. Do we talk in hopeful terms? Do people want what we're offering? So you got the message, you got the manner in which you communicate it, and you're only missing one thing, and that's a messenger. I can tell you, my dad, I've got 3 sisters, so whoever tells you God won't give you more than you can handle, I struggle with that verse. But I've got 3 sisters, I got a beautiful mom, he's got a bunch of grandkids. But if you go into his office, you're not going to see a picture of any of those folks on his desk. Not one. You're going to see a guy in a cowboy hat by the name of Ronald Reagan. But I've told my dad, if you're waiting on Reagan to come, I don't think it's going to happen. Media won't allow it. Current culture won't allow it. We're waiting on some knight or knightess to come riding in on a horse, save the Republican Party, save the country. I just don't think our culture allows that anymore. But yeah, we need a messenger. And see, Chuck and I fly into a town named for Washington, into an airport named for Reagan. There's statues and monuments to all the leaders and messengers of the past. You can't go anywhere without seeing a portrait or a statue, monuments. But if you fly into Reagan, like I do, and I presume Chuck does every week, you got a choice. You can look out that side at the monuments to all the people whose names you know, or you can look out that side. And you can see these elegant white crosses that dot a rolling green hillside at a place called Arlington. And you may not know any of those names. Now, who do you think built the country? Who do you think preserved freedom? Who do you think made us the greatest experiment in self-governance the world's ever known? Those nameless, faceless folks who did the right thing for the right reasons. And we don't know most of their names. So you want to know who the messenger is? It's you. It's not your member of Congress. It's not your senator. It's not your state rep. Chuck Fleischman can't go into your bridge club and convince people to do something. He doesn't even play bridge. Nobody may play bridge anymore. I can't go to your Sunday school class. They throw me out. My tithing's not up to date. You do it. You're the messenger. You want to win in 2016? We got to start persuading people that the last 6 years, that experiment hasn't worked. You got to do it with hopefulness, without hypocrisy, and try not to insult them in the process. And I know it is tempting. There's a bumper sticker in my hometown that says, "Don't blame me, I didn't vote for the idiot." And I think to myself, okay, that's funny. In my district, people would chuckle at that. But what about the folks who did? You want them in 2016? You want to give them a chance to kind of quietly, in their own well of souls, say, you know what, maybe I was wrong. I don't need it on a bumper sticker, maybe just in my own well of souls. I could just remind myself, maybe I bought what I shouldn't have bought. We're still the greatest experiment in self-governance the world has ever known. And we have overcome lots of things. We came into existence because a ragtag band of mercenaries decided to take on the most powerful army on the planet. And then we had a civil war where literally brothers fought against brothers. A World War I, a World War II, where our boys, and in some instances girls, had to go liberate other countries, some of whom have short memories. And then 9/11 and the Cold War and the race to space, we've had other challenges. We can win in 2016. You just got to do those three things. Tell people why you believe what you believe. Tell them in a way that's calculated to persuade. And just understand, I appreciate you clapping when Chuck and I get up. I appreciate all that stuff. But the reality is, we're going to turn this country around. I'm going to be members of Congress. It's going to be you. God bless you.
I can't tell you how much your speech today, and you haven't heard any of our presenters, is totally in sync in everything we have heard so far at our convention. That's right. So we hope that the leaders of our Pachyderm clubs from around the country will go back and get yourself in the lectern and present that same message. All of you are capable of doing that in your own clubs, because that's the way we're going to win. You said it right. Thank you.